Welcome to BrandsTalk, the podcast that explores the world of successful brands and the secrets behind their brilliance. I'm your host, Brigitte Bakowski, a company and personal brand identity strategist. Driven by my passion for brand excellence, we reveal the stories, strategies, and insights from thought leaders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and experts who have propelled their brands to new heights. With the focus on authenticity, market leadership, and the power of brand storytelling, our conversations are designed to inspire and empower you to elevate your brand's radiance and attract not only the recognition, but also the clients you truly deserve. We delve into corporate branding, entrepreneurial branding, personal branding, and leadership branding, offering valuable lessons for entrepreneurs and business professionals alike. Let's get started and dive into the world of brands. My guest today is Susan Friedmann. Susan has turned her 30-plus years of experience into a mission to help solopreneurs stand out from the crowd. Through her company, Aviva Publishing, she guides hundreds of nonfiction authors towards mastery in their niche. She's an absolute writing powerhouse with 18 books to her name, the first selling more than 500,000 copies. She also hosts Book Marketing Mentors, an award-winning weekly podcast now in its 8th year, which ranks in the top 1.5% of podcasts worldwide. When she's not changing the game for nonfiction authors, Susan living life to the fullest. From being chased by an elephant to hugging a tiger, from teaching yoga to being rescued by the National Guard, enjoying 3 grandchildren, and traveling with a life partner of 53 years, her life is brimming with incredible experiences and accomplishments. And you know what? She's not done yet. I warmly welcome Susan Friedmann. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
Brigitte, thank you. It's so good to be here.
So good to have you. And you know what? I have so many questions, and I decided to start with how you help your clients before we go into your unique evolution of defining, taking on, shedding, and again, morphing into and aligning different brand identities on the way. Susan, as a nichepreneur coach, and you will tell us a little bit later what that exactly is, you guide your clients to find the ideal niche market for their book. In your book called Riches in Niches, you write about selling in niche markets. Could you share some insights of how businesses can effectively brand themselves within a specific niche and the advantages of being a niche authority instead of, appealing to everyone, pruning it down to a niche?
Yeah. So, going from a generalist to a specialist really helps you stand out from the crowd. Now, there are lots of benefits to being, a nichepreneur or a nichepreneur, whichever you prefer, and in a marketplace, because you don't necessarily have to be known by everybody. You get known by the people who are most important, who are going to be loyal to your brand, who are going to support you. Yeah, and nobody appeals to everyone. And that's one of the big things when authors come to me, for instance, when they publish their book, when they want to publish their book. And I've got 2 questions. One is, who is this book for? And what do you want your book to do for you? And the first thing is what they say, who is your book for? It's like the number of times that I get, well, my book is for everyone. And I'm like, that's great. It might well be. However, how are you going to market to everyone? That not even the biggest of the big, Procter and Gamble and Unilever and the huge companies, international companies out there, they don't try and market to everyone. They've got products that are in their niche market. Nike, I think, is one of the best examples. of that, where they've got clothing and apparel and accessories and whatever people need, for hockey, for running, for gymnastics, for whatever sport. They've got their niche, products, and the same for Procter& and Gamble and, all the other big companies. So why should somebody, in a small company try and think they can market to everyone? Doesn't work.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
a good example to use the big global brands. I mean, what
Yeah,
they do is they leverage their audience because they can
absolutely.
scale globally. They have a different reach. They're not only in a domestic market, not only in an international, but in a global market. So they kind of can standardize categories, certain niches, and appeal to a mass of people. So that's
Absolutely, and that's
what it is
exactly
about.
when I work with authors, I want them to do the same thing. I want
Mhm.
them to
Yeah.
get their hands around a smaller market. Even when they say to me, "Well, my book is for women." Okay. And I say, "Well, yeah, well, women, that's a very big population in the world." And
Yeah.
then they say, "Well, it's women between 30 and 60." And I said, "There's a real difference between a woman of 30, that her needs, and a woman of 60 of her needs, and where they are in their life. So that's far too big a range. So it's even condensing it down further, to maybe women in their 50s who work as a professional in healthcare, let's say. I mean, then you're already, niching it down to a smaller population. And even that could be large. You might want to do it even by geography. Somebody, in London, Vienna, in New York, just a smaller population. So yeah, it's defining that niche and getting known in that niche market, and you've got far better chance of getting visible in that niche market than you have if you're broad and you're up
Yeah.
against hundreds and thousands and millions of other people trying to get attention.
Yeah. It's really about focusing on your core competence. You won't have a core competence and your core strength in everything. There is a specific task or a specific skill that you are really brilliant in, because it's a pain or so that you're healing from. It's something that you have mastered over time, and you want to pass that on. And you want to attract those people who see themselves in you and they say, "Oh my God, can't you read my mind? This is exactly what I need at the very moment." And you will find people, as you say, in Vienna who need that at the very moment, somewhere in the United States and somewhere in Asia, wherever. Yeah. But still, the niche can have a certain dominance, I would say. Yeah. Can you can reach a lot of
Yeah.
people also in a smaller niche. And that's what we want to say here. And that's what we want to point out here.
Absolutely. It's the more people get frightened, Brigitte, when I say this, that the smaller the market, the
Mhm.
more opportunities that you have, that you go narrow and deep, into that marketplace. And obviously, the marketplace has to have a few things. One of them is that, that there's money in that marketplace. It's growing. There's a growth
Mhm.
factor. There's money in that marketplace. It's so that you have an opportunity. Um, and then everything that you do, anything, content creation, your branding is, that's your area of expertise, definitely not mine. But it's like, but everything that you do, you can focus um, on exactly what you want to do, how you want to do it, where you want to do it, and all of that
Mhm.
is really, really important because, again, not everybody has to know who you are. Uh, Only the
Yeah.
people who matter need to know, and those are the ones that who you're appealing to, and I think that scares people a lot. Often I get, "Well, can I be in more than one niche at a time?" And I'm like, "Yes, but it's a lot of hard work, because it's hard work getting known in one niche, and then you want to divide your energy into 2 niches, 3 niches, 4 niches. It doesn't e each time, you know, you're taking away from the most important energy, and that is going where you really want to drill deeper. Uh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. And I think I got to quote you on that. The smaller the market, the more opportunities. I love that
Mhm.
very much. Because
Yes.
you hit the nail with that. You hit the nail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. If you also guide authors in marketing their books, that is related to what we have been talking about, in a way that shows off their expertise and helps them become recognized experts in their field. Can you share with us some pieces of advice, um, how you help them on their book marketing journeys? So, how
Yeah.
does that look like?
Well, first, I mean, the most important thing is defining that niche market. And then, what do they want to do with the book? You know, what is the message in the book? What is the area, the uniqueness that they offer? So, there are hundreds of books on thousands of books on sales, for instance, or, motivation. So what is your take on it that's going to appeal to a certain audience? Even if your topic is stress management, well, one of my authors many years ago, she was an RN, a registered nurse, and you never say was. Once a nurse, apparently always a nurse.
Yes.
So, any event, she was in that marketplace for, many, many years, and she realized she didn't enjoy it, she was burnt out, she wanted to get out of that marketplace, and so, she said what she really wanted to do was, to, help, you know, people with, getting rid of the stress, helping with the
Mhm.
burnout, and she did it
Mhm.
through humor, using
Mhm.
humor, and, I said, "Well, Karen, um" you know, who's the best market for you is the market that you know. You're established in that marketplace. You've got credentials in that marketplace. So they're the ones who need you. And that's exactly the direction she's gone. She's taken humor and working with
Mhm.
stress management, with burnout in the arena of just nurses because and she's known in that. She was a nurse in that environment, so she knows what they go through, and they know that she knows because if you're not from that marketplace, then maybe you don't know and empathize with them in the correct way, and they know that she knows, and therefore, she gets the support from them. And so she's
Yeah.
made a living in that area. Now that I know that didn't quite answer the question, but it really is important to narrow that niche down and then look at, well, what do you want? As I said, how do you want to use the book? Do you want to do public speaking? That isn't for everyone. Although, when you're looking to get, to make money, that is the most profitable usually is public
Mhm.
speaking or coaching and training. Those are usually the three main areas that if you're going to go out into the marketplace with your book, with your message. It's really the message. You want to know and understand too what are the problems, what are the challenges that your target audience has. because your
Mm,
book, your method is a solution to their problems or challenges. And
yeah.
so, depending again on what you want to do, how you want to do it, or what lights you up, I don't want to say to people, you've got to go out and do public speaking if they're like, I hate the thought of this. You know, I'd rather die than
Yeah.
go and speak in public.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you got to do things that you enjoy doing. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what I can see here is when it comes to writing a book, it's the same with everything in branding because writing a book is a branding activity. It's one communication channel
Yes,
actually. So it's all about why you're writing it, what you're writing it for, and then the how later on. But it's really the why and the what that you need to
exactly.
keep in mind when you write the book because that guides you.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
looking at then the core message that you're bringing to your
Mhm,
marketplace, and knowing
mhm,
what
mhm.
that is, and also knowing and understanding, as I said, what are the main challenges in your market?
Mhm.
You know, do you know and
Yeah.
understand that? Have you done the research? Often people appeal to a niche market, and it's usually based on their background, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
It's their
the
journey, their personal journey.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know that even if like, Karen is an excellent example. She said, "I don't want to do anything with healthcare." But the fact is, that's what she knows, and she's got the credentials there, which give her, that recognized expertise in that area. So yes, it's like it's okay to go back into an area you don't have to work in that area specifically, but you are appealing to that target audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom on that. That helps us when we get started writing a book.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's
Yeah.
important. Yes, well, I
Yeah.
know you
Yeah.
said that you're going through this and laying
Yes.
those foundations right at the beginning, know who that book is for. Branding, obviously, everybody who has a company needs branding, but
Mhm.
then who are you looking to speak to most? Is it larger companies? Is it smaller companies? Who needs you? What are the challenges that they face? And often,
Yeah.
I've been a solopreneur for, my 35 years of plus in business.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that, I've had multiple brands over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. We are coming to that now. This is a great segue
I
into the
wondered if we
topic.
would, yes.
So yeah, I just wanted to round up everything about writing a book. That everything that you do with brains, company brains, and personal brains, you also apply to everything else, like writing a book. And now we are coming back to your own life because your
Excuse
personal
me.
life and your professional life journey so far have been very colorful and varied. You have gone through several pivots and rebrands over time. Gonna talk about that because you went from trade show coaching, so you're helping clients master the art of exhibiting a trade show, to nichepreneur coaching, and now to Viva publishing. And I would like to know from you what lessons have you learned about the importance of branding, about aligning your brand with your ever evolving passions and audience needs.
Oh, well, that's a huge question. And
Yeah.
I'll take you back to the beginning when I started out, and I
Yeah.
started out, um, wanting to teach exhibitors how to exhibit at trade shows. I
Mhm.
established that niche, having worked with my father, at trade shows and realizing that many exhibitors at shows do not know what to do. So I thought I was going to go out there and train, and I didn't do any research. I thought, oh, I don't know anybody who's doing this. Little did I know that there were several people doing this, but not very many. You could actually count on one hand when I was doing
Mhm.
it how many people were doing this. Um, it's one small part of a multi-billion dollar industry. The trade show industry is a huge industry, but what I was looking at was a very small portion of that. And I tell you what, I got very cutesy when it came to, finding a name for this company.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I started off with Diadem Communications. And, a diadem is a sign of distinction, like the laurel wreath
Mhm.
the Romans used to wear,
Yeah.
the crowns princes wear, princesses wear, it's a diadem. So I thought, well, that sign of distinction and then the whole idea of communications, I thought this was brilliant. And
Yeah.
I was several years into my company and I suddenly realized people didn't understand what I did. I mean, the word
Yeah.
communications, people thought I was in the wireless industry, you know?
Can
I mean, I wasn't telling people anything about what I did, and that was training exhibitors at trade shows. So I was like, okay, scratch diadem communications. And then we went to trade show success. And I was like, this is brilliant. Again, no research. And there's a lesson here.
yeah, a big
And then
lesson.
a big lesson because I barely had trade show success out there in the marketplace when I got a very nice cease and desist letter from a company that they had a publication called Trade Show Success, which I I sort of remembered, but I had paid no attention to. And of course, they didn't like the fact that I was using that name. So again, another change. And then I thought, let's get basic. And I called myself the trade show coach. And then it was like people knew much better, at least, what I did. I was a coach in the trade show industry.
Yeah.
So that was, a real evolution there about what I did over a 25-year period that I had 3 changes of names. Well, for someone who knows branding, each time there was work to be done to let people know that I was, you know, trading under a different, brand.
Yeah,
So
it was a
it
hard
worked.
learning, but you
Yeah,
came back to the conclusion that keep it simple. Keep it
keep it
simple and
simple.
something that people understand. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
yes. In
God.
fact, in my Riches and Niches book, I say, if you're going to choose a name for yourself, choose one that says what you do, that people don't have to guess,
Mhm.
because often, like with Diadem Communications, they had no clue what I was doing. And that was my
Yeah.
own fault, you know? And that
Yeah.
get away from being too cutesy, which people love to do sometimes. You overthink things when, yeah. Whereas, you've got BrandsTalk, lovely
Yeah.
name for this. Your
Yeah.
your
We talk.
company. Yes, Bridget Brands. I mean, people know straight away that you're into branding, and you've got it right there in what you do. So
Yeah.
yes, and then from there, I went into, what am I going to do? And I'd written the book from Riches and Niches, How to Make It Big in a Small Market, and I thought, I'm going to coin a phrase that says, you know, people who specialize in a niche market, nichepreneur or nichepreneur, however you want to pronounce it. And I thought that was brilliant. But again, it didn't fly the way I had hoped. Uh,
Yeah, but still, it's brilliant. I mean, it's like
it
entrepreneur,
says a little
solopreneur,
bit more.
nichepreneur. I think you can play with it if you have a
Yes.
simple tagline. I mean, you can get playful somewhere, in your context and bring that out. I mean,
Yeah.
coining that term is brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
trademarked it, and, yeah, um, but I still didn't feel that it was really me, and
Okay. So
then
that has to be.
it wasn't what I had really hoped for, and again, people weren't looking to become nichepreneurs. Even though, they may be, but it wasn't something that was saying, "Oh, yes, teach me how to be a nichepreneur." No, it that wasn't what people were coming for. So, I'd always had Aviva Publishing, primarily to publish my own books, because books in about trade shows are not very attractive to publishers. So it was suggested to me many years ago that, start your own publishing company. And so I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
But it was really for
Yeah.
my books. I had never even thought about publishing for other people until, a book coach came along and said, "Hey, you know, how about publishing my book?" And I was like, "I don't see why not." And
Yeah.
then Aviva Publishing really took off from there, and, over the last, I don't know, I've had it, as I said, for, over 35 years, and, we've published over 500 titles, and my focus is primarily nonfiction. We have done a few fiction, very selective about fiction that I take on, because
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
I want to do with my authors is I want to guide them in their marketing, and I relate
Hmm.
to nonfiction more than I do to fiction. Plus, it's a whole different marketing for
Exactly.
fiction versus nonfiction. Yeah.
So you keep your word and you live it, and that's this nichepreneur. Because
Mm.
also within your Aviva publishing, you focus on a specific target audience because that resonates with you. And
Yes.
here you have the appropriate marketing tactics that you can apply. So I think that feels good because you said nichepreneur coaching and all of that. It is a great term, but it still does not completely resonate with you. So then it's not really true to you and you cannot really authentically communicate it. But now
Yes.
with a Beaver Publishing, you found the right brand name for your company. And also, I suppose with Aviva Publishing, you are now bringing together these different initiatives packed into all these initiatives that you have from podcast and so on. Yeah, these individual brands under one umbrella brand of Aviva Publishing, right?
Yes.
So, but
And thanks
also
to
that,
you.
oh yeah, okay. So, what do you think? And why are you doing that? What are the challenges? You're struggling or kind of bringing different individual brands under one umbrella. What are your challenges, and what do you think the benefits that you get out of that from your
So
perspective?
again, it's really interesting because having spoken to you, and you were a guest on my podcast, and really drilling down this whole idea and the importance of branding and just something simple. I have my Book Marketing Mentors podcast. It's a weekly podcast, as you read. And yeah, but I had never I know that it's part of my Aviva brand, but nobody else did. And you said, "Put your logo on, your cover for the podcast." And so now I have. So now, exactly as you said, I've just got Aviva Publishing so people can relate that the Book Marketing Mentors is part of Aviva Publishing. I also
Yeah.
have an education, division of Aviva Publishing that I call Author Marketing University, and so now I'm like, "Okay, I've got to let people know that it is the educational arm of Aviva Publishing." Again, you've made me so conscious of this now, that and I'm so grateful because it
Sure.
really is it's made me think, yes, it's even though I know that it's all under one roof, but other people don't know,
Yeah.
unless I tell them.
You're creating a broader brand awareness because Aviva Publishing also has certain brand equity. It has leverage and it infuses a certain meaning into your other individual dominant brand. So you are endorsing another brand with a very strong equity. So you're
I love
infusing
that.
meaning. Yeah. So and here you combine this the the, the 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 brand elements from the different levels in the hierarchy of branding. Let's say it very technically. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the Viva brand is the umbrella brand, the corporate brand. And then
Yes.
you have your individual brands that play a really dominant role. Because as you say, you have the Book Marketing Mentors podcast, but it's part of Aviva. And when there's this combination, when you have this linking here, then it takes on a much deeper, more pronounced meaning. It has more relevance. It lifts your Book Marketing Mentors podcast a totally different level.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like
And
that.
the same
I
the
like that.
same goes for the marketing university, the same
Yeah.
thing. So the architecture, the hierarchy of branding is really important. If you have a good hierarchy in place that you can make sense of and you can explain it and live it with passion, then also your client can, or
E
the audience or the students can.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
when something makes sense, they understand and then they talk about it and it feels differently than not quite sure, but I just do it. I'm going to this university, but why? Yeah, they cannot really
Yeah.
explain it. But when you explain it, there is a different energy that comes
Yeah.
along with that. And that's what we do with branding. It conveys trust, it conveys meaning. There's a different feeling involved. Yeah, so that's how
All
we
of
do
that is
it.
so good, and you said one word that I love to use with my authors, and that is the word passion, because so
Mhm.
many authors, if we talk about sales and marketing, they're like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't wanna do that. It sounds sleazy, cheesy." They think of, like used car salespeople, and if there are salespeople on the call, don't take offense from it, but that there are some negative connotations over the years that have come about with certain type of selling, and
Yeah,
that's what authors think about, and I said, "You're not selling, you're just sharing your passion, and yours passion, you know, is enticing, it's persuasive, it's just like yeah, people want what you have when you talk with passion about what you do and, about your book, about your message of how you can help people. So that is so
exactly.
key. Key,
Yeah, thank
passion,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? Passion comes from being authentic, from
Mhm.
authenticity. I know it's
Yep,
a term that's ubiquitous, it's used all the time, but there is so much truth to it because when you are authentic, then you are passionate. And
absolutely.
authenticity also comes from being vulnerable because when you're talking about your book as a nonfiction author, it's very much your story involved. We talked about before. You are
Mhm.
appealing to a certain niche because you went through it. And there's this vulnerability because when you go through something, you very often fail. You have ups and downs. You're in the trenches. You celebrate your small little, the steps towards a success. But there's a lot of perseverance. You really sometimes you are grinding because you wanna make it through that.
Yeah,
Because it's a journey of pain, and so this vulnerability to share your story and the solution to it makes you authentic. And when you can pack that into a story, into a narrative, then you can also passionately talk about it, and that's
Yeah.
better than selling, because then people come to you without selling anything anyway.
Well, that's it. I mean, they just want what you have because your
Yeah.
passion is what sells it. Which is so important. And you said something, and it went right out of my head after I was like, "Oh yes, I'm going to pick up on that," and I didn't. That's how about that for authenticity? But yes, that whole idea. I know what I wanted to say. Branding. I think over the last I don't know how many years, and you probably know a lot better than that people are attaching stories to their brand, and it's because we love stories, and that story is what people remember, and that reminds them, hopefully, of your name and who you are. You don't want them just to remember the story, but it is attractive to have a story that is attached to your branding as well. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you need to have a story that somehow relates to what you're doing, because it's
Yeah.
nice to tell a story, but it's not relatable to anything. What you want is that people take away something that
Yeah.
gets them to the next level, right? It should be quality content that you are delivering. So there is a story, and to make people remember about things, the story of why I'm doing this, and what I'm exactly doing with my company to help people and make them shine, get the beauty out of them, become great, and and resonate with their brand, right? But there's also the stories to, for example, your story to how you arrived at Aviva Publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how people remember something and they connected with you. It's kind of an association that strengthens your brain. And
Exactly.
it's about creating, knitting a connection on a visceral level, on an emotional level with your client. Because if you are explaining something technically, they might understand, but then they forget about it again. It's fleeting. But when you catch people with their hearts, then they remember and it sticks. That makes something sticky, a brain sticky with a
Yes.
narrative, right? So a brand always has the duality of being of this rationality and the emotional part. These two parts that go together. Sometimes there needs to be more emotions. And there's some very, very strong brands. They live from that, like Apple. There's not much to explain, some technicalities, but it goes with so much more, you know?
Yes.
And then there are other brands that you need to explain more. The rational part first, you need to grasp what it actually is. And then you also add this emotional part. And so that's the duality of branding. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, that's brilliant. I love that. I love that. So,
All
yeah.
right. Yeah. So
Did
you
we
also have
cover
to
everything?
catch,
Did we have
yeah,
we touched every aspect of branding now?
we have pretty much touched aspects. And if we have forgotten something, we have you on the show again for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, to marrying branding and being a book author. I mean, whatever, as I said, applies to companies and people. A book is a product, and it also needs to be branded. And there's always the question, is it the book? Is it the author? Is it the publisher? I think that's what we have not touched base yet. So, what
Yeah.
should be in the forefront from your perspective when
Well,
it
I go
comes
back
to
to
marketing?
I go back to the question that I asked, well, what do you want the book to do for you? If it's just that you want to sell the book, then you have to, you know, really push that. I mean, then it's the title. And does the title really talk about what the book is about? I mean, the title of the book can be, a made up word, but if and the subtitle is always what the book is actually about, so that people really know, like for instance, I mean, Riches and Niches is a great title, and people don't necessarily know exactly, but the subtitle is how to make it big in a small market. So that
Perfect.
tells you exactly
Yeah.
what it's about. And, I know that that was at the forefront when I was pushing the nichepreneur, brand, that it was more the riches and niches. And
Mhm.
I think that was more the brand. And actually, people remember that because it's also catchy, and I think it's a
Absolutely.
phrase people have used. I mean, it's not original, but the fact is that, I mean, then people repeat it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, well, what I want to say is you have this catchy title that people remember and want to know more about because they're
Yeah.
curious. What does that really mean? I mean, they can have different um, definition, explanations, and pictures in mind, but having a subtitle that hits, that nails it, that exactly expresses what that means is a perfect combination.
And that's the purpose of the subtitle.
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
title, as I said, the idea of the title is to catch people's attention,
Mhm.
so that it's like, "Oh, I wonder what that's about." And then the subtitle is there to say, "This is what this book is about." And that
This is
has to
what
be
you're
clear.
getting.
That has to
Yeah.
be simple language. Often I get authors who, they're very flowery in the title, which is fine. And then the subtitle gets very wishy-washy. And it's like, what does that mean? If people don't know what it means, don't make them work hard. They're
No,
not going to work it
yeah,
out.
they
They're
turn
not gonna
away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've got to appeal to something that they're interested in. So, you know, with the riches and niches, I mean, this is a really good example, is the fact that people want to make it big. People who are in small markets want to make it big. And so it's appealing to that. It's using very simple words to express exactly what the book focuses on. Because
But
otherwise,
huge impact.
it could be on lots of other different aspects of, riches and niches, It could be financial, it could be investments, it could be I don't know. I haven't even thought about
Anything.
all the other things it could be.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it does
yeah.
appeal to people.
A catchy title with a strong impact. All right, good. So we
Yes.
are at the end of our show, Susan, but I want to do a word play with you, a quick word wrap. I'm throwing out a term and you're going to ask it maximum in one sentence. Are you ready?
Oi.
You are, right?
I'll do my
All
best.
all right. Books,
Books.
books,
Exciting to read. Something exciting to read.
niches.
Something that's small in, just a small area.
Okay. Transitions.
Hmm. When you blend one thing into another and you're going from one area into another area.
What does publishing mean to you?
What does publishing mean to me? Publishing means um, just giving some authenticity to a piece of work.
Wow, that's great. I love that. Podcasting. What does it mean to you?
Getting your message out to the masses.
All right. And last but not least, the brains. What does it mean to you? Or what do brains mean to you?
It means that it's something recognizable that you associate, um, a product or a service with hopefully a person or a company.
Okay,
Uh,
good. Thank you so much, Susan.
my
Where can
pleasure.
listeners Where can listeners find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, I always like to share a gift with with listeners, and that is if they're interested to do a 20-minute free sort of brainstorming session with a book, or about niche marketing. If they go to bookmarketingbrainstorm.com, and that will get them to my calendar and they can book a 20-minute session with me. So that's bookmarketingbrainstorm.com.
Okay, good. So I will put everything into the show notes. Susan, thank you so much for being my distinguished guest today on Brands Talk and
Thank
sharing
you.
send advice for writing nonfiction books and sharing with us your story of creating, shaping, morphing, blending into brand identities and building your hierarchy of brands. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Susan.
My pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me
Thank
here.
you so much.
If you loved the episode, don't forget to hit follow on your favorite app, share it with your network, and drop me a quick rating or review. Your support means the world to me and brings more exciting brand stories to you. Stay tuned for the next episode as we continue to explore the fascinating world of brands. Until then, keep shining.